Greetings, brothers and sisters. How you doing out there? It's good to be back once again to give you a wonderful stream. And as you can see, I'm always having issues with the camera when I start. It never used to be like this. I think I'm gonna have to upload a different camera app, so that because I like when I'm doing a film, shooting a film, that you can see my face, that it's those spooky ghosts talking to you. So how you doing, my brothers and sisters? It's good to be here, and don't forget to look out for next month. We're going to be doing a course of shows, a series of YouTube shows, YouTube lectures about music in the African diaspora. We're going to be giving you jazz, reggae. We're going to be giving some chemitology, Egyptology, some events that happen in Black history, significant events that happen in Black history. We're going to be picking and choosing. We're going to be doing a poll, and we're going to be seeing what ones you like us to do, and we're going to be just doing. I think we're going to do maybe only about 10, so maybe 2 a week or 3. Yeah, two a week, or a couple of times, or maybe 3 times a week. But we do about 10 throughout the course of October, which is for African Black History Month for next month. But anyway, brothers and sisters, we're here to talk about the Queen, and to talk about, not that we're going to celebrate the Queen. We're not doing that. We're going to talk about a bit about the British slave trade, or slavery in Britain, how it kind of started. And of course, when I mention the Queen, you know that the Queen passed away almost a couple of weeks ago. She passed away not last week Thursday, but Thursday before. Today's Monday. Today was the day of her funeral, so today's Monday. Monday the 19th? Monday the 19th. I'm sure it's the 19th. Yeah, Monday the 19th of Monday the 19th of September 2022. And all day long on the TV, all you're seeing is celebration of her life, and people mourning, millions of people around up and down the country, crowds and seas of people mourning. But I was not into that. I'm here to talk about some of the things that happened during the course of slavery in Britain, what happened to our ancestors from Africa. And there's things that we need to talk about, and not a lot of people are talking about them. And, as some of you may not know, that slavery took place in Britain some say the late 1400s, some say the mid 1500s. John Hawkins was a captain, and he was knighted by the Queen Elizabeth I. Some say it was Queen Mary, but due to research, and I knew this a long time ago anyway, when I was studying books from back in the 1990s, when Robin Walker, the great Robin Walker, the author of When We Ruled, one of my very good friends, and so on. And one of these days, when the stream gets bigger, when the channel gets bigger, we're going to invite him on, and we're going to do we're going to do an interview with him, and we're going to do some live discussions with him. But not now. That's for something which is going to happen down the line. And don't worry, when we get to 1,000 subscribers, hopefully you lot out there, you subscribe to the channel. And before I go on, if you're your first time watching Christy B. Emoted, please hit the likes on the videos, share them, tell a friend to tell a friend, and let them know about this channel, and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell so you know when we're going live, or when we actually uploading a video for you to view, that you're going to get first-hand knowledge of this. So hit the likes, hit the bell, and subscribe to our channel, and leave your comments down below. I know it's like many of you are not leaving your comments. It's there for you to leave your comments. I'm not forcing you to leave your comments, but you could help a brother out. Leave your comments, and then as you've noticed, I'm not some guy who's gonna bite your head off. If you leave a good comment, I'll reply to you, and so on, and give you good dialect, and respond in a positive way to you. There's some people on Facebook, there's some people on YouTube that are very horrible to their listeners and to their followers and to their viewers, and yet they get millions of subscribers. I'm surprised how they get millions of subscribers, and they're very, very nasty. But me, who's full of love and full of respect for my followers and my viewers, and I'm bringing out all this love, all this free information, yet you're not even hitting a like. So, like I said, it's up to you. I'm not forcing you to do it. Anyway, so someone's got to speak to you guys hard, because it's like being nice all the time doesn't always help. So sometimes you got to be a bit hard and let people know that this ain't a joke, because we're giving you some good free information here, and it's up to you if you want to take it on board or not. It's either you stay ignorant or you grow with us. Your choice is yours. Anyway, so like I'm saying, the slavery started in the 1500s with John Hawkins, who was a captain, and Queen Elizabeth I gave him the stamp of approval to actually transport and to import slaves from Africa. when I say Africa, it happened all over Africa. It wasn't just the east of Africa, it happened in the rest as well. Some people assume that it was mostly slaves from West Africa because, you know, West Africans are big and physical, like the Nigerians, the Nigerians, the Ghanaians, and, you know, people from the Congo. They're physically bigger than the East Africans, who are more slighter, tall but skinny at the same time, and more slender in their physique. But, you know, the white people, the ancient white slaves, didn't care as long as they were from Africa. They wanted them on the slave plantations over here in the UK. And John Hawkins, the captain at that time, went about becoming the first man, they say, to actually see to it that slaves were imported from various parts of Africa over here to the UK. And then they were there for a couple of hundred years, no, 1,500 years. So it was during the course of the slave trade. So you talk about 350 years to 400 years of nothing but slavery. So you're talking from the mid 1500s until the late 1800s. So that's just over 300 years of slavery. Because a slave trade happened in America. We call that the transatlantic slave trade. That took place for the first time in the late 1400s, and that never, you know, according to the abolishment of slavery, which is, you know, really, you know, fake. It's false, because there's still slavery going on in America now, like how there is slavery going on in the Middle East and in northern Africa, like places like Libya, which I mentioned one of my radio shows many years ago when I was on SLR about 10-15 years, no, not so long, about 10 years, 5-10 years ago. I mentioned all this slavery which is taking place in Libya by the Arabs that live in Libya. And you've got the indigenous people of Libya, the Nubians, the blacks, were there taken hostage and being enslaved by these we call these like newcomers to Libya, you know, and they're actually having them in slavery there now, and it's still going on now. You see, I've got a friend in Qatar. She's from Kenya, a very good friend of mine, and a lot of Kenyans are over in the Middle East. They're over in places like Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and places like that. And these Arabs, they go to, they love to pick on Africans. So they come to Africa where you know, it's cheap labor, or free labor in many cases. So they go to Africa and they pick these, you know, these blacks from there, and they go over. Even though now slavery now is it's more sugar coated. It's not as open as it was 500, 600, 700 years ago, and so on. Now it's more subtle. It's more undercover. So what they do, they go on the website and they specifically target Africans to come to the Middle East, and to, you know, because they occupy North Africa. They go to North Africa as well to work on the slave plantations there. But it's more undercover. So what they do now, when I say slave plantation, it's maybe I should use it in a more as a metaphor. They're not working in a plantation for say, but they're working as nannies, as carers, you know, as cleaners, as labourers, and so on and so forth. And they get very, very low pay. At least now they're getting some type of money, some type of financial rewards for it. Whereas before, in the slave era of 500, 600, 700 years ago, they were whipped, they were lashed, they were hanged, they were beaten, they were torched, and so on, and they weren't getting paid a penny for that, you know. And that was inhuman. And so it's now so-called abolished. But even though it's so-called now abolished, they're still doing it. You see. And so but back to what I was saying before, I don't want to drift too much. With the Queen Elizabeth, who she passed away a couple of weeks ago, you know, they've lived a life of luxury on the back of our ancestors' labour and toil. And our ancestors were stolen, were captured from Africa to come to the UK, to come to America, which is a transatlantic slave trade, to work for nothing. And that's why I don't celebrate the monarchy, because they've lived off the back of our ancestors' toil for how many years now. Even though slavery is so-called abolished, even though it's not really fully abolished, because it still goes on undercover. All the jewels that they wear in the crown, she wears in her crown, all the clothing, the mansions will be built, all those mansions and all those big buildings like Balmoral Building, Buckingham Palace. I've been to Buckingham Palace many times. I've not been inside, but I've been outside many times, taking pictures outside there. Buckingham Palace that was built by the slaves that came here in the 1400s and 1500s. That was built by them, you know. And even when the building rots, it's still black people who built that, who've gone and built that. The same with America, the White House in America, where the president resides in America in Washington D.C. That was built off the back of slavery. You know, the transatlantic slaves came from Africa, which were imported from Africa, to which over two. By the way, before I forget, I believe over 200 million slaves died en route from Africa, from various countries in Africa to America. Some of them died at sea, some of them died on a boat, some of them died as soon as they got there, and so on, or died even before they were to leave. You know, when they were transported from by these slave masters and captains and so on. They couldn't stomach it, and some of them died, passed away. Some of them were killed, you know, even killed en route. You know, so about all these buildings, I'm just letting you know, for those of you who are not aware, I know some of you know, some of you don't know, that these buildings in America, these great royal elite buildings were built off the back of slavery and by these slaves, our ancestors from Africa. So, you know, that's why a lot of us, especially from Rasta, a lot of us Rastas, a lot of us who are like Garveyites, you know, and Pan-Africanists, we're totally against the monarchy. We're totally against the establishment, which is very elitist anyway. We're totally against all of these people because we know what the end result is. We know that all of these life and luxuries that they've lived came off the back of our ancestors. And the things that we should have got, we haven't got. Even now, a lot of our people are fighting for reparations, you know. And I personally don't think that we're going to get reparations. And even if we do get it, there'll be some catch to it. There'll be some type of, we're going to give something back, or we're going to do something to get some of it, some of this money. And they'll probably give us some chicken feed. If they do pay it to us, it'll be some little chicken feed. Because we're owed trillions, not millions or billions. We're owed trillions. Because at that time when they took us in slavery, we're losing out. Then even after the so-called abolishment of slavery, we've missed out as well. And it's filtered down to generations, even this generation now. That's why a lot of black people around the world live in the poor suburbs, live in the poor neighborhoods, you know, and so on. And we can't get jobs. We've been discriminated against, racially deprived, you know, and systematically and socially deprived. You know, some call it social deprivation. You know, we've not been allowed certain privileges. That's where white privilege comes into the mix, because with white privilege, they can do anything they want. All the rules are made up for them. They're not made up for black people. They're made up for them. And suddenly now they're starting to slowly say, oh, we should give some, but it's always half-hearted. It's always half-hearted. It's not really coming from a sincere place, you know. And so that's why Marcus Garvey told us about doing it for ourselves, having your own. He gave a wonderful demonstration of the UNIA. When he set the UNIA in 1914, he had his own building. He got the funding from those people in the close-knit communities around him. And I know that there was one or two white people involved in the Marcus Garvey movement, the Garvey movement, you know, in the UNIA. There was some white, but those were the white ones that sided with the blacks, and Garvey took them in. You know, but Garvey made a rule that he said that any black person who comes in my establishment, comes in the UNIA, you have to have a black partner. You're not to go with the white. You're not to have a white partner. You have to go with a black partner. So for the men, that to be with a black woman. With the woman, vice versa, that to be with black men. And if anyone was cheating, or if anyone was seen to be, if any black person was seen to be in a marriage or in a relationship with a non-black person, that person would be ousted from the organization by Garvey or by Garvey's allies, you know. And so that was it. And so that's a standard bill. Rasta have come the last 100 years and told us these things, and gave us these concepts to do for self, to follow Marcus Garvey's concepts. Excuse me. And so we go back to the Queen. We say that we don't really, the ones in the know, we don't really celebrate her. We're not going to mourn her death. Yes, it's sad when somebody dies, because she's still a human being. She's still somebody's mother. She's a grandmother. She's a great grandmother now as well, and so on. And so, you know, life is sacred, but for what she's done and for what she's benefited from, and for how she's benefited, there's no way under God's Son that we should really be in a position where we're celebrating her. Today I was trying to watch some TV, and all I'm seeing is commercial. There's no commercials today on the TV. All you're seeing is a pause of a black screen with some writing on it about some sort of tribute to her, and a picture in the corner of her when she was younger, and so Queen Elizabeth 1926 to 2022. You see, and so that's what we're seeing, and so we can't even get to watch TV today, and all the TV channels, even the ones that are sort of overseas, the foreign TV networks are pausing and commemorating her, and celebrating her, and I just have to turn the TV off because I'm just not into that, All the posts I've put the last since she died is about slavery, about the hand that, even though it wasn't physically her, it was her ancestors, her great grandmother and so on, Queen Elizabeth I, and then King, these people involved in the slave trade, and she's benefited, and her family's benefited. And the only one who speaks up about it is Harry. Harry's the only one who talks about it, because he's with Meghan Markle, his wife, who's mixed race. So, but in Diana, she went with Dodi. She was gonna get married to Dodi, and Dodi was an Arab, And even though some people classify Arabs as being white, but Arabs have got a mix of both black and white, and so on. So, and there you have it. And then even before that, seem to remember years ago, about 2 or 3 years before she met Dodi, she was with a Pakistani doctor. I seem to remember that. She was with a Pakistani doctor. So Diana always had eyes for the so-called exotic looking men. She never wanted a white man. Charles was forced upon her. I heard Charles didn't even love her. And I heard that she didn't even love Charles either. It was just forced upon her because it was convenient, because she was young, and then she could have children for, which they had two, Harry and William. And so that was it. And then after, when he got his 2 children, that was it. He went away, went to marry Camilla. Camilla was there from before he met Diana, but Diana was more proper because Camilla wasn't young enough to have children with. She was about, so he went with Diana, who was younger, more attractive, and so he went with Diana. And when he got what he wanted, he went to Camilla and married Camilla. So I only really wanted the 2 sons from Diana, you see. And I'm hearing that, of course, William and Harry don't get on, and I'm hearing that Harry and Prince Charles, his father, they don't get on either. That's why he went away with Meghan somewhere. They came away from the royal family. What's the word I want to use? I will try and make sure I use the right words. They disconnected themselves from the royal family, and and ensured that they weren't part of it. And even though today I saw Harry at the funeral, yes, because he has to fulfill royal duties. So we as Rasta and we as Pan-Africanists, and so on, we don't, and even some of the members of the Nation of Islam, they're not into that, because we know where it comes from. It comes from an oppressed state. It comes from slavery. They living off the back of our work. The diamonds and pearls you see, the Queen's crown, and even Prince Charles has a crown as well, and all the glitter on their attire, on their suits and their royal suits. All of that comes from Africa. All those, the material makes these things, makes these clothing, these garments, comes from Africa, And they hire cheap laborers to make these things, and then they get paid a pittance while they walk around with these great attires worth millions, and with the Queen's crown and there's artifacts that Buckingham Palace, artifacts in Balmoral, and many of the royal estates and households around the world have got artifacts, you see, and it's all something from Africa. And there's calls to give these back to Africa, bring these back to Egypt, to the museums in Egypt and various parts. Because it's not just in Egypt, parts of Ethiopia, parts of the West, like parts of Senegal and places like that, where these things were stolen from. And then there's calls from various African states and from the people, from the general public or Africans, general public. And I'm even hearing that there's some white people who said that they should give it back because it doesn't belong to them. So they should give back what they stole, what their ancestors stole all those years ago, around the time of slavery, before slavery and during slavery, and even after slavery. What they're going to Africa and they steal, they should give it back. Give back rightfully give it back to who's it belongs to rightfully. And I'm in full agreement with that. It needs to go, all those artifacts and all those great materials and antiques that are stolen in the libraries. The British Museum Library has something, as I mentioned before, Buckingham Palace, Balmoral, various royal families, houses or mansions or castles around the world, and as well as in various museums in Europe has it as well, not just in the Britain, because don't forget they're all the same family. They're Europeans, so they're all linked. That's the rate. They're Europe of the European race, so they're all linked. So all of these, artifacts and all of these antiques and diamonds and pearls that were stolen from our continent, our motherland, needs to go back there. Needs to go back as quickly as possible. You see. And I don't believe Prince Charles will make it happen, but Harry might. Harry's from a different generation. I was all really, really hoping that it would have been not Harry, William. Sorry, William will be when Prince Charles passes away, it'll be Harry. Sorry, it'll be William. Yeah, because William's the first son. Yeah, I was so hoping it was Harry, because I think Harry is the one who would fulfill this. If Harry became king tomorrow, he would make sure all the artifacts, all the antiques goes back to Africa, because he seems like he's down with the people. He's the more rebellious one out of all of them. He's like his mother. If his mother become Queen of England, Princess Diana, she would have made sure all of that went back to Africa. Yeah. But Charles won't. He's not about that life. Of course, the Queen didn't do it. Charles won't do it. I'm not so sure about Harry. Harry's a bit. I don't know about him. He's a bit open, more liberal, but I'm not so sure. But William, I keep saying Harry. William, I'm not so sure about William. He's a bit. I don't know. William 50-50, but Harry would definitely make sure all of that goes back. All of those artifacts goes back to Mama Africa. And I also think that if Diana was alive and she was Queen, she would also make sure that all goes back to the motherland. All of those things they stole from, those diamonds and pearls and all those artifacts and gold and things like that. And there's many, many more things they stole in Africa, but that's for another time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, brothers and sisters. This is just a quick video because I saw some of the funeral today on the TV over there, and I had to turn it off sometimes because I just can't bother to watch it. It's so disingenuous and so fake, and they're so racist. You see how they treat Meghan. Meghan had to run with Harry. They had to flee the royal family. The racist. It's as racist. They're as racist as anything. The Queen was a racist. Yeah, she was a racist. We all know this. She was a racist. And Prince Charles, he's a closet racist. He doesn't show. Apparently, he did like the 3 degrees back in the 70s, but that doesn't mean he's not racist. Yeah, I don't know. He's never been with a black woman. He could never dare to go with a black woman because they'll kill him. Harry's the only one who has guts, and that's why he had to flee the country, because you know that if he stayed over here with Meghan, I even know that he suffered death threats because of that as well. So he had to run, and the two of them had to run. And but he's the only one from the royal family I actually have time for, and as well as his mother when his mother was alive, Princess Di. Other than that, I couldn't care less about the royal. I just could not care less. Anyway, brothers and sisters, I love talking to you. Hopefully, we can do some live streams very, very soon. And don't forget what I mentioned in this video, John Hawkins, the captain who was given the freedom to import slaves from Africa to the UK and torture them until so-called slavery was abolished. People like Eluda Equiano and Ignatius Sancho, who are rebellions from the English slave trade. Eluda Equiano was transferred from Nigeria to over here. Then he wrote a book about the slave trade, and Ignatius Sancho wrote a book as well. I think Equiano's book was called The Slave Narrative, or The Narrative of the Slave by Eluda Equiano. I think so. But I've done many posts on him many times over the years. I've even been to talks with my good friend Robin Walker, and he's spoken about Eluda Equiano. And Ignatius Sancho was another slave, and he came from Africa, and they brought him over here. And the two most famous slaves from that time, from over here, were those two guys, Eluda Equiano and Ignatius Sancho. And they exposed what they were really about, what the British monarchy, what the British government was about at that time, and what their real aims were. Let's see. So look out for me on Facebook. All the links is there. The links of Facebook is Chrissy B. Bailey on Facebook, and on Instagram it's Chrissy B. Motip 444. I'll leave the links in the description so you can't miss it. And on Twitter it's Chrissy B. Motip, the same as on here. YouTube, Chrissy B. Motip. I'm also on TikTok, but I don't use TikTok very often. You see, I can't quite remember what my name is because I don't use it very often. But the link is there anyway. I think it's Chrissy B. Chrissy B. Motip 77. I think so. But the link is there. You'll see it there, so you can jump on. But don't really watch me on Twitter don't really follow me on TikTok, because on TikTok I just mess about because you can't really get serious on TikTok. But I'm serious on Instagram, on here, and on Facebook. Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, yeah, YouTube. Okay then? Okay, brothers and sisters, you take care of yourselves. I'm going to leave and go and have a shower now and have something to eat and get my rest because I've had a long day today. So you take care of yourselves. And next time we're going to be talking about Rasta and about Bob Marley. People are getting it twisted out there. They're talking about Rastafari as Bob Marley, and I've got to come and address that. I've got to let you know who the real Rasta man is, who started Rasta. This is years before Bob Marley was even born. So we've got to really come now and give you the synopsis of, you know, what is Rasta again. I done a part 1 some weeks ago, but I'm going to do another one now. I might do up to 4 parts. So this one might be part 2 of what is Rastafarianism. Or maybe I just do a separate post about who is Rasta, then I'll come back and do another part about Rastafarianism. I'll see how it goes, but we're going to have to give you some content because people are getting it twisted out there. So we have to come and give you a proper synopsis and a proper breakdown of what this thing is. It's very, very important because people are having it twisted out there. So brothers and sisters, you take care of yourselves. Love you all very, very much. Keep subscribing. You know, I know I get touchy sometimes, but I want this thing to grow because you're going to benefit as well as me. And I want you getting all this free information. And when we get to 1,000, there'll be prizes. And we're going to do like if you don't subscribe, then you're going to miss out because it helps the algorithms. You know, I don't have to keep telling you this. You should know this. It helps the algorithms. So the more you like our videos, the more viewers we get and the more subscribers we get. Right? Okay, brothers and sisters. Peace.